Welcome back to another Deep Dive. Today we're really digging into something huge, an infrastructure deal that could genuinely reshape a nation's economy and maybe even trade across southern Africa. We're focusing on Zimbabwe and China and this massive $533 million rail modernization agreement. We've got a stack of sources here: YouTube transcripts, news articles from places like All Africa, New Zimbabwe, Zim Live, Beloya 24, Zim itself.
Our job to pull out the key bits, give you the quick story on what this big partnership actually means for Zimbabwe, its economy, and, well, the whole region.
Okay, let's unpack this. So the big news that got everyone talking September 2nd, 2025, Zimbabwean President Emmerson Mnangagwa is in Beijing. And it wasn't just a courtesy visit.
He met with Chinese President Xi Jinping, and boom, they finalized this $533 million rail deal.
That's a serious amount of money, a real statement.
It absolutely is. And what's really interesting here isn't just the $500 million figure, though that's obviously significant. It's also who is involved. We're looking at China Railway International Group, CRIG, and its subsidiary Trans Engineering Corporation. Now, Trans Engineering, they're not new to. They have a really strong track record delivering big, complex railway projects across the continent for years. So this isn't just like another investment. It feels much more strategic, game changer, potentially like signaling that Zimbabwe is serious about getting its economy back on track through these kinds of...
Yeah, and to really get why this deal matters so much, you kind of have to look back and think about Zimbabwe back in the 1990s. The National Railways of Zimbabwe, the NRZ, it wasn't just running, it was a powerhouse. Seriously, this system was moving something like 12 million tons of goods every year. To give you some scale, that's roughly what a country like Switzerland moves by rail annually. All flowing through Zimbabwe was vital.
Wow, 12 million tons. Okay.
And here's where it gets, well, pretty dramatic, right? Because fast forward to today, and that number has just fallen off to less than 3 million tons now. That's a huge drop, a 75% decline in just a couple of decades. When you try to picture that, it's like a major airport losing 3/4 of its flights overnight. It's not just fewer trains, it's a whole industry struggling, goods getting stuck, just massive lost economic opportunities.
Precisely. And the why behind that collapse, well, it's complicated, but the main culprit is really over 2 decades of frankly serious underinvestment and neglect. We're talking equipment that's way past its sell-by date, a real lack of basic maintenance. So tracks breaking down unexpectedly, freight wagons just rusting away, signaling systems that barely worked, causing dangerous situations sometimes. It all added up to trains moving incredibly slowly, huge delays. Honestly, it often became easier and cheaper not to use the railway.
And that kind of breakdown in your main transport artery, the economic hit must be immediate and deep. This isn't just like an inconvenience. It means vital exports get delayed, maybe don't happen at all. And the mining sector, which is so critical for Zimbabwe, is struggling to get valuable stuff like lithium or chrome out to the world market efficiently. Imagine digging up valuable minerals and then they just sit there trapped. That's lost revenue, lost competitiveness, right?
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, Zimbabwe's location, it's right in the middle of southern Africa. That's a huge strategic plus. Its rail lines are, or should be, vital links for landlocked neighbors trying to reach ports in South Africa and Mozambique. So when Zimbabwe's rail failed, it wasn't just a Zimbabwean problem. It created ripple effects across the whole region. Companies had no choice but to use trucks, which pushed transport costs way up, sometimes doubled them. Plus, you get all that road congestion, wear and tear, and it basically choked off economic potential for everyone. The old system was a real bottleneck.
Okay, so the need is obviously critical. Given that in this $500 million investment, what's the actual plan? How does the money turn into, working trains and modern tracks?
Right. So the modernization plan they've outlined is pretty comprehensive. It's definitely not just patching things up. It covers rehabilitating the key rail lines across that's a huge job. Then there's installing advanced signaling systems, which is a massive technological leap forward, and crucially, upgrading the trains themselves. They're getting 17 new locomotives and 209 new freight wagons, high capacity ones. The whole idea is to boost efficiency, reliability, and, well, make the railway profitable again. It's smart. The plan goes beyond just the tracks, and they're also building 5 completely new stations located at strategic points along these main routes. Now, think of these less as places to wait for a train and more as like modern logistics hubs. They'll be centers for consolidating freight, doing state-of-the-art maintenance, planning logistics efficiently. By building these, they're setting up the system to handle much more traffic, much more smoothly, faster, and more predictable operations across the board.
Sounds like a complete overhaul, really. You mentioned those advanced signaling systems. What actually makes them advanced? How do they change the game?
Good question. Yeah, these aren't just fancy traffic lights. Think more like air traffic control, but for railways, we're talking systems using real-time GPS, maybe even AI for predictive analysis, automated controls, managing train movements. It lets trains run safely, but closer together. That means less waiting time between services. It can predict potential conflicts way down the line, helping prevent accidents. The new locomotives, too, they're just stronger. They're designed to be way more fuel efficient, lower running costs, and they can pull bigger loads, right? So fewer trips needed to move the same amount of. Put it all together and you're looking at a substantial increase in how much freight they can handle and how efficiently they do it. Much more cost effective, much more reliable.
And for people listening, how does this stuff actually make a difference in their lives or for businesses?
Absolutely. It translates directly. For regular citizens, it could mean faster deliveries of lower transport costs for essentials. It might even trickle down to, say, slightly lower prices at the grocery store. It's possible. It also means better connections between cities, whether that's for passengers or just moving goods around internally. For miners and exporters, though, this is huge. Reliable rail means getting those minerals, farm products, and manufactured goods to ports faster, more predictably. That makes Zimbabwe way more competitive globally. They can actually seize market opportunities they might have missed before.
Yes. That corridor is absolutely key. It's a 466-kilometer line, and its main purpose is to directly link Zimbabwe with South Africa, its biggest trading partner. Just getting that line running efficiently is expected to cut transport times on that crucial route by potentially as much as 30%. Think about that saving compounded over thousands of shipments, millions of tons. It's a massive boost to trade speed. And Beit Bridge itself, that border crossing, it's notoriously busy, often a real bottleneck, right? Good gets stuck there because of bad rail links or just too many trucks. Exactly. So this new line is designed to streamline all that, cut down the delays, slash the logistics costs, and very importantly, it helps Zimbabwe compete better within the whole Southern African Development Community, SADC. It's about making trade flows smoother, cheaper, faster, strategic positioning, really.
And broadening that out. This isn't just about Zimbabwe-South Africa trade, huge as that is. Faster, more reliable rail makes trade easier with all the neighbors. Botswana, Mozambique, Zambia, especially the landlocked ones. It's about positioning Zimbabwe not just as a country with a railway, but as a central logistics hub for the entire region. I mean, that Beit Bridge-Herrera line, it really could become the backbone for moving minerals throughout Southern Africa. It could fundamentally change regional trade patterns, routing key resources through Zimbabwe.
Right? Let's pivot then to the economic payoff, because that's the ultimate goal, isn't it? Zimbabwe's mining sector has this really ambitious target, US $12 billion in output by 2030. So, how vital is this rail upgrade to hitting that number?
Oh, it's absolutely fundamental. You can't hit that target without this. Right now, minerals, things like lithium, chrome, coal, they account for nearly 40% of the country's export earnings. But if you can't move them efficiently and cost effectively, that value is just stuck. Modern rail lets them move much bigger volumes, much faster and at a lower cost per ton. It unlocks value that's currently trapped. And think about lithium. The global demand is exploding because of electric car batteries. Having efficient transport for that specific resource gives Zimbabwe a real competitive edge in a market that's only going to grow. And the impact goes way beyond just the mining companies or government coffers, right? You mentioned jobs.
Yes, absolutely. The construction phase alone, they're estimating around 5 COR direct jobs. Now, in a country where formal jobs can be hard to come by, that's thousands of people getting steady incomes, families benefiting directly. That's significant.
It is. And those 5 zero-hour workers, they don't just save their money. They spend it. They buy groceries, pay school fees, rent places, eat out. So small businesses all along these rail lines that are being upgraded or built, they could see a real surge in customers. Some analysts are projecting like a 15 to 20% rise in local commerce in those areas within the first 5 years. It's that classic multiplier effect. You know, every dollar invested in infrastructure ripples outwards, boosting the whole local economy. So connecting it back for you, the listener, having a strong rail system takes pressure off the roads, means fewer trucks, generally lower logistics costs overall. And those savings, they can filter down to the prices of everyday goods. So yeah, you might indirectly feel the benefit when you do your it's subtle, but it's real.
This sounds incredibly promising, but also like a truly massive project. What's the actual timeline? When can people expect to see these changes?
Well, the positive thing is the feasibility study is done. That's often a big early hurdle. They're actually aiming to start construction by December 2025, so quite soon, but it's a big job. Full implementation is expected to take 36 months, so it's basically a 3-year transformation plan for the whole network. Year 1, the plan is to get that first batch of new trains, the 17 locomotives, 209 wagons. Year 2, they expect key parts of that vital Bite-Bridge Herrera line to be up and running. And then by year 3, the whole thing, signaling stations, rehabilitated tracks, should be fully operational, a complete game changer for transport.
Okay, but let's be realistic. No project this big goes off without a what are some of the potential risks or challenges Zimbabwe might face here?
That's a really important point. And yeah, there are definitely risks. First up, cost overruns almost guaranteed on projects this size, maybe up to 10%. On 533 million, that's over 50 million extra they'd need to find.
Oh, yeah.
Then there's political stability. These long projects need consistency. Any major political upheaval or big policy changes halfway through can cause delays, scare off investors.
Right, consistency is key.
Exactly. And the logistics, coordinating construction, work over hundreds and hundreds of kilometers. That's incredibly complex. You could have delays importing special equipment, machinery breaking down, even bad weather like floods stopping work. We also have to think about environmental concerns. Building railways often means cutting through natural habitats, so balancing development with protecting sensitive ecosystems is crucial and can cause delays or require costly changes. And finally, maybe the biggest one, debt sustainability is a huge loan. While the benefits could be massive, Zimbabwe has to manage the financing very carefully so it doesn't become a crippling burden down the road.
That's a critical question. Okay, so summing up then, this rail deal is huge. A massive statement of intent with the potential to genuinely transform Zimbabwe's economic future.
It really is. And it pulls us back to that bigger picture, doesn't it? This isn't just about moving minerals more easily, though that's vital. It's a strategic play to reshape Zimbabwe's whole economic future. They expect these upgrades to boost mineral Equicore efficiency by maybe 25-30% by 2030. That means more revenue, stronger GDP growth. But beyond that, it's about positioning Zimbabwe as that key regional trade hub, creating income streams that aren't just mining, diversifying, strengthening the whole economy for the long term. And there's that social aspect too, which we shouldn't forget. A good rail network connects people, communities, makes travel safer, potentially cheaper, more reliable. It's the kind of thing that attracts other kinds of investment in manufacturing and agriculture sectors that need good logistics to really take off.
Clearly, this rail project is much more than just tracks and trains. It's a bet on the future, a symbol of Zimbabwe's. So the question for you to think about is, what does this massive investment mean for the power dynamics of trade in Southern Africa? And how could these kinds of huge infrastructure projects continue to reshape the continent over the next decade?